The people surrounding Donald Trump, his closest allies, are rapidly losing faith in his ability to win key swing states. They are rapidly losing faith in his ability to win the 2024 election as a whole, and we have proof in the form of leaked new panicked emails coming from a top Trump campaign volunteer where he's urging the Trump campaign, begging the campaign to pull out of key swing states, to ditch these states and concentrate their efforts into more winnable states. And the tone of this email really reveals a lot of panic. It reveals the state of the Trump campaign along with the timing of this email. The exact time of this email coming after Labor Day reveals a lot. I don't want to waste a single second of your time. All that I ask is that you leave a like on this YouTube video below and make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler YouTube channel. So, the craziest part about this story is just the panic and the frenzy that is involved. This campaign volunteer, spoiler alert, sent out an email and then was immediately asked to leave the campaign and made a dramatic exit from the Trump campaign, showing that there is some sort of panic going on behind the scenes. This article is titled "Trump Campaign No Longer Thinks New Hampshire is Winnable and is Pulling Back from State," a leaked insider email claims. And this article goes into detail about how a top Trump volunteer is urging people to switch states, to go to a different state, and it backfired in his face. Before I break this down, can I just highlight some of these mind-blowing numbers coming from swing states that highlight the spending disparity between the presidential campaigns. In Michigan, for example, Kamala Harris has allocated $55.2 million towards different sorts of ads across the state, whereas the Republicans, the Trump campaign, they've bought $6.6 million. That's $55.2 million to $6.6 million. Let's jump over to Arizona, where Democrats have allocated $34.9 million towards ads, and Republicans have bought $9.9 million, not even $10 million. In Wisconsin, $33.1 million allocated from the Democrats, $3.5 million allocated from the Republicans. We have almost 10 times what they've allocated in Wisconsin, almost. North Carolina, which is a massive battleground state, really important for both parties. Democrats, $26 million to Republicans, $2.8 million allocated towards buys. Again, that is almost a 10 times difference. Nevada, $19.5 million allocated by Democrats, $1.4 million allocated by Republicans. That's over a 10 times difference. And in Omaha, $7 million from Democrats, $0 from Republicans. They have basically given up on some of these states in the same way that they are giving up on New Hampshire in the key story from this video. And there are a few theories on why Republicans are spending so little money. There's the obvious: is Trump diverting funds from ads, from down ballot races, and putting that towards his legal fees? We know he's doing that, but that may not be the main reason why this disparity is so massive. There's also a pretty good theory that the Trump campaign is only pumping money into Georgia and into Pennsylvania. Now, if the Trump campaign can win all of their previously won states in 2020 and just secure Pennsylvania and Georgia, which he lost Georgia by, remember, 11,780 votes, that is over. That is it. The Trump campaign wins. So he may be doing a Hail Mary, a gamble, and putting all of his money in Pennsylvania and Georgia, trying to win those two states. There are also theories that Republicans only spend money in the last month of the campaign. They're going to do a huge blitz buy over the next 30 to 60 days. I don't quite buy that because that just makes everything more expensive for them. But those are some competing theories on why the Trump campaign isn't spending money. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is he diverting money to his legal fees? Is he pumping money in Pennsylvania? Is it a mix of the two? Let's read this article. Trump volunteer Tom Mountain urged supporters to turn their attention to Pennsylvania instead because Trump is, quote, sure to lose by an even higher margin in New Hampshire than he did in 2016 and 2020. I love stories like this. The Trump campaign, quote, no longer thinks New Hampshire is winnable and is pulling back from the crucial swing state, according to a bombshell leaked email from a top campaign volunteer. Tim Mountain, a former Republican Party vice chair in Massachusetts, sent an email to volunteers claiming that, quote, the campaign has determined that New Hampshire is no longer a battleground state. And I want to revisit this comment right here because part of me thinks that Tom Mountain completely made this up on his own. In the email obtained by the Globe, Mountain advised supporters to turn their attention to Pennsylvania instead, as Trump was, quote, sure to lose by an even higher margin in New Hampshire than he did in 2016 and 2020. So Mountain claimed the campaign has been forced to shift strategy after President Biden dropped out and Kamala Harris replaced him at the top of the ticket. Shift strategy is an understatement. They have been running around like a chicken with their heads cut off, trying not to say racist and sexist things about VP Harris and failing. Quote, so for those who are active in the New Hampshire ground campaign in 2016 and 2020 and expected to do the same after Labor Day, the simple question is, what are we going to do? Go to Pennsylvania, he reportedly wrote. So what he's saying is that there are infrastructures in place on the ground in key swing states like New Hampshire, like Wisconsin, even in Iowa during the Iowa caucuses, during the primaries, there was a massive infrastructure in place. So he is begging those people, the Trump supporters, the volunteers, to flip states and go over to Pennsylvania, which I'm not sure is quite realistic. And I'm just going to say, even though I vehemently disagree with these Trump volunteers and I loathe Donald Trump, I think the fact that we have people on the ground volunteering is always a good thing in our democracy. That is a core tenet of our democracy, having people fighting on the ground. By the way, in Wisconsin, I'm doing a voter registration event where you can meet me in October. Back to the article. Quote, the nearest battleground state. This is a must-win state. If we lose Pennsylvania, we lose the election. So here's where things get wild. Mountain claimed that the Trump campaign would be pulling resources out of the state and would not be sending Trump or any high-profile campaign surrogates, such as his sons, to the state. After sending the email on Sunday evening, Mountain was asked to step away from the Trump campaign and, quote, will no longer have any involvement, senior campaign advisor Brian Hughes told the Globe. So let me just restate this timeline really quickly. He sends out this panicked campaign saying, go to Pennsylvania in all caps. He says, with certainty, the Trump campaign has determined that New Hampshire is no longer a battleground state. Then he says Trump won't be sending his sons. And then literally the next day, the campaign comes out and says this man will no longer have any involvement in the campaign. So what I think happened here, and I'm just speculating, but I think he saw some internal polling that was very, very scary. He immediately panicked, sent out this email, spoke on behalf of the Trump campaign, and then was let go. I think it's a sign of panic. It is indicative of panic. And the thing is, these internal polls are pretty powerful. I mean, the reason President Biden dropped out after teetering on the edge for so long is because he saw internal polling, according to reports. He saw a lot of polling showing himself slipping, but it wasn't until he saw his own expensive-ass internal polling that he was like, wow, we need to make a change. So I'd wager something similar happened, and this Trump volunteer saw some internal polling, this Trump staffer saw internal polling, sent out this panicked email, and then immediately got let go. And I'm surprised the Trump campaign didn't just double down immediately. After Biden's disastrous debate performance against Trump in June, Republicans were optimistic about their chances in New Hampshire. They thought they might even flip the state, and they were allocating resources. And then Biden, who was once down by 2 points in a St. Anselm poll, now that has flipped to Kamala Harris being up by 7 points in the same St. Anselm poll. And that is why the people around Trump want to ditch New Hampshire.